How are you doing? Well, I want to show this new pipe. I made a clip about this beautiful pipe, and but first a bit of history, and first housekeeping. I'm smoking Grand Cru Chocon. It's a bit of less in my container here, and a Dunhill lighter. I showed it before. Lovely lighter, and because this is a special pipe with horn, I use the antler tampon. So I'm breaking it in. It's the first smoke. It's a rainy day here, so I'm in the cellar again. So Genod pipes, they're actually 1865. Henry Comoy was, the famous pipes, and a guy called George Vincent Genod joined Comoy in 1923, and that's where the name comes, Genod. And then his son-in-law from Vincent Genod, his name, the son-in-law, was Jean Crain. And John Crane was famous until to this day in Saint Claude. So in 1959, and his son, Jacques Crane, was 15 years, and he joined the company, and in 1970 they decided to launch the brand of Genod. So it's not that old, this brand, but the name and the people involved go far in the history of Saint Claude. There's a lot of family relations and things like that. It goes 200 years and back in the past. So they started making Genod pipes. In 2000, Jacques Crane needed to retire, and he had a young apprentice, Sebastian Bode. He's also famous these days, and here's a photo of him, and he trained with Roger Vincent, and that guy makes carved faces on the briar, and I got my owl pipe from him, and it's a beautiful, it's unfiltered, but I use crystals in the bowl, and so he's a very famous, in Saint Claude as well. So there's several links below about pipefill.eu, about examples of the Genod pipes, and they're actually quite famous for this horn, and it's real horn on the pipes. So and Pipepedia, a link below as well. So I always think maybe a hoot and briar, he would like a pipe like that. Perhaps, Anyway, let's look closer at this Genod pipe. Hello, meow mates. I want to show a Saint Claude pipe. I've got, you know, Butz, Chacon and Chacom and the Rop pipe, and I always wanted a Genod pipe, and lovely pipes to look at, and it came in this box. I bought it at smokingpipes.eu, and it's a very simple box, but what is nice, the bag is a very nice pipe sock here, so that's a good start. And I like the grain on this pipe, and here is the pipe. Let's equip it. So here's the pipe, and let's get some light here, and I think you'll see a nice grain, you know, a bit of bird's eye and flame on the other side. Genod, Saint Claude, and no other markings. But this pipe has a horn stem, and that attracted me also. 9mm. I haven't smoked it yet, but the drilling is pretty good. No problems with the drilling, you know, it's right at the bottom there. You see it. So that's good. I'm looking forward to smoke this pipe. It's very attractive, I think. So I said 9mm. Of course, the drill has to be higher up because this is a bent pipe, so you see it there. But that is the one that really counts. And it's a kind of like a Peterson system, you know, with a spittle catch here. There's the hole. So, about filters, for example, I've got a selection of filters, and usually you put the filter in and you push it back, and there's a little cusp on the tenon, you know, and usually it should be a snug fit here, but there's probably about 1mm either side. That's not so critical if the tenon has a cusp, you know, to catch the filter. But this doesn't have that. So I started thinking about the width of filters. In the second half of this video, I will show you my measurements. The only solution, yeah, you could send it back, but you know, the shipping, it's not worth it for me. You know, if you live in the right country, yeah, local post is not too expensive, but I'm in Switzerland here. So I use this solution for a few pipes. I have the same problem, and I take a bit of tape and wound it on the mouth side of the filter. It's usually 2 or 3 winds around the filter, and then it stays there and doesn't rattle, because if you don't do that, you have this, and that's very irritating. The filter will swell a little bit, but if the dimensions are too wide here, it won't work. So that solves that, but it's irritating, of course. You could create a cusp here, but it's tricky, you know, if you do it wrong and you use a glue or something, you know, or you block the hole, that can be a bit tricky. Sometimes I'll have try that. But you see there is a cusp there, but it doesn't grip the filter. So let's go to the filters, and I'll show different filters. I've got a quite collection of filters, you know, Parisa and Savinelli, Chacom. Still the Stanwells. I bought a big pack of 200 before they just stopped making these lovely filters. There's even a Saint Claude filter. You would think that would fit, you know, in a Saint Claude pipe. Sort of done, you know, but when you shake it, it's still quite loose. See? The White Elephant Active Coal and White Elephant Meerschaum and White Elephant Super Mix. So let's look at the width of these filters. So I used a vernier caliper, so 100 of millimeter, you know, it's all millimeters here. It's quite accurate. So here are the results. I did 3 measurements, one or two of the caps, the front and back of the caps, and the mid width as well. So you see the measurements and the average, and based on the average, Chacon was the thicker filter, with 8.23, and that was the shocking thing for me. 9mm filters are close to 8mm, but I don't know why they call them 9mm, because it's very clear for the measurements. Number one was Chacon, and number two was Savinelli and Peterson. Only slightly thinner, they were pretty all close. So number four, because we had a joint number two, number four was the White Elephant. It was a meerschaum, but I think it's represents as the White Elephant filter. Just slightly thinner. And number five was Stanwell, slightly more thinner. And number six was Parisa, almost the same as Stanwell. So very close. And Vaughan was clearly the most thin 9mm filter with 7.72. And you see below two pipes, Savinelli 614 and the Bend-Wade pipe. I measured the tenon, inside and outside, and you see, the inside is about 8.4 millimeters, and that leaves a bit of gap. You see the Bend-Wade here with the tenon inside, and you see the cusp in the corner of the tenon inside, and that grips the filter very well. Even the tenon diameter is inside 8.58. Let's look at the Savinelli 614. The tenon diameter is 8.44 millimeters, and that's wider than the filter, but the cusp holds it in place and seals it very good. The vernier caliper actually measures the inside of the tenon here, like this. Here's the Savinelli, and you see the cusp, the resin that actually grips the filter. And here's the proof that works very well, even if the diameter of the tenon inside is bigger than the filter. So that cusp inside the tenon is essentially gripping the filter. That's the secret, and it works. So that's about pipe. For me, it's a minor problem with the filter. It takes me 20 seconds to tape a filter. Maybe I'll talk about a pipe repair. You could put some epoxy in the stem to make the cusp, but there's you need to have experience that. But at the moment it's smoking very well, no problems at all. But the fascinating thing was all the filters were way under 9mm. Probably the name comes more the tenon diameter in the side of the tenon of the stem. So maybe it was for that reason they named it 9mm. But there's a couple of sanity checks. So I took a close up on the just the usual rule, with the filters. But you could see very clearly that the Vauen is thinner than the Chacom optically, and you see it's definitely under 8mm. So these photos, the sanity check, did I really measure those dimensions? Yes. It actually means the Vauen has less, about 12% less volume, because the volume is the squared of the radius, pi r squared, so I calculated it. But 10% of less filling of active charcoal, I don't know, probably makes no difference. And very many people like me are quite happy with Vauen filters, so I don't think it affects their performance at all. But it's just interesting to see the difference of filters, and that's the reason I always have a big choice, because every pipe is a little bit different, and I can try which filter is snug, Right, that's it for this video, and hope you enjoyed it. Always appreciate the thumbs up if you like it, and if you're not a subscriber, why not be a subscriber to my channel? Thanks very much, and take care, and I'll see you about a week or so for something else.